You may be seated.
Hello, Your Honor. This is a case of Johnson versus Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good day, everyone. Mrs. Johnson, you are here today on the verge of divorce because you claim your husband of 7 years is forcing you to choose him over your 12-year-old son, Elijah. You state that you have separated multiple times over the past 5 years of your marriage. You have petitioned the court to order Mr. Johnson into family counseling because you say if he will not agree, you plan to divorce him.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Johnson, you admit that your marriage is at its breaking point, but you argue that it's because your wife undermines your authority and allows her 12-year-old son to disrespect you.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim you were on the street since you were 14 years old and you fear your stepson is on the same track.
Absolutely.
You are countersuing Mrs. Johnson, asking the court to order her to take anger management classes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mrs. Johnson, let me start with you. How does Mr. Johnson treat your kids?
He shows blatant favoritism. I'm angry. I just want my kids to feel equal. I want my oldest son
When you
to
say he
feel
shows
loved.
favoritism, explain to the court how.
Okay, for an example, I put my kids in baseball. He would participate in our son Ethan's, and he would never participate in Elijah's.
That's not true
That
at all.
photo right there was Elijah's birthday, and I took him to the go-karts, and he was supposed to meet us after work and didn't even show up. My son was so upset. He sat there and cried because nobody came to his birthday party.
He wasn't upset that I didn't come. He was upset that his cousins didn't come from Florida. It had nothing to do with me. His cousins in Florida that he doesn't see a lot, that's where it was at.
Give me more specific stories of how you feel he treats the children differently.
We went on a trip to Gatlinburg. It was just the four of us, and we had a great trip. And then it all just kind of dwindled down. My son, we took like a safari ride, and he said, oh, well, me and Ethan will ride on this one, and you and Elijah can ride on that. And it just hurts my son's feelings because he never shows that extra step to where...
She doesn't enforce me as a father figure. She doesn't...
I shouldn't have
I'm the father
because
that's
he's
there.
been in his life since he was 2 years old, and he should take that extra step on his own.
If I've been there this long,
and you see
why not respect me
noticeable
for it?
differences on a day-to-day basis as to how he treats both boys.
Yes, I do. He doesn't take an extra step in, like, as far as going to the PTA meetings or...
Did I in the beginning?
Yeah, in the beginning, but things have changed. And
a lot has changed.
You can't expect different results when you're not willing to make a change.
He undermines me at home.
He's
What is
12,
he going to do
you're
there?
33.
Exactly. Discipline your son.
Now, Mrs. Johnson, in your statement to the court, you said your son asked you, Mom, why can't I have a dad too?
Yes.
He does have a dad. I'm there for him. I potty trained him. I've taught him how to ride bikes. I play video games with him. I've tried
this was
so many
years
times.
ago,
It was
though.
years ago.
Mr. Johnson, but do you show favoritism? Do you?
No, I
to
don't.
your
Yes, he
biological
does.
child?
I don't
He
show
does. He will
favoritism,
go
no.
in our son's room that we have together, and he will go
He's
in
my
there and play
son.
video
I'm not
games
gonna be
with them.
disrespected
At one point in
and then
time,
deal with it.
I
Why
would
not
go to
discipline
work,
children?
and I would work nights, and they would have like movie night and all this other fun
And
stuff.
you would lay out
and then
rules
it
for him to do,
then
and
it
he
put
never
a-
does them.
He put it to a stop. My son refuses to come home when me and Mr. Johnson are together. I have a letter from my son right here. I'll read it.
All right.
My name is Elijah. I'm 12 years old. I don't want my mom and Jason to be together anymore. I don't like Jason at all. I don't like being around him. I don't ever want to see him again. He hurts my feelings because he does stuff with my brother and don't want to do stuff with me.
Why? I don't care. That doesn't
please
mean
hand me
nothing to
that letter.
There's so many different points
Mr.
of
Johnson,
views.
I have to ask you, do you have any idea why Elijah would feel this way?
Elijah is disrespectful to me, to
Yeah, but
her,
he's
to
disrespectful.
everyone.
It's
To
'cause me
everyone.
and
When you
Mr.
say he's
Johnson have
disrespectful,
He's disrespectful to
altercations.
everyone.
Give me
He
some
takes-
specifics. What do you mean?
She told him, we got a new place together. I started to remodel the entire place. She told him specifically to clean up after himself. He is 12 years old. I cleaned the entire house. 5 minutes later, he destroyed it. There's food everywhere. I asked him, pick up after yourself. I shouldn't have to do it. You're 12 years old. He told me, you do it. You'll have to deal with her when she gets home. He knows I can't have that house like that because then me and her are going to fight over a dirty house. And I'm not going to fight over a dirty house. You know what happened? I cleaned it.
So now, Mrs. Johnson, let me ask you, are you undermining his authority? Does
Absolutely.
Elijah feel like
No,
he doesn't
I'm not.
have to listen
He
to
knows
me?
I feel like I have
He
to
knows he
choose
don't.
between my son
I don't make her choose.
and
If
my
she chooses,
husband.
I'd leave her over
I
that.
feel like that. I do, because when I do
And why
go
you
to
been here
work,
10 years?
I have to take my son to my father's house. My son is not my father's responsibility.
Well, I'm sorry, you don't discipline him. When
Listen.
he does those things, do you think he gets grounded? No, she'll go buy him a video game,
Listen,
a phone,
this
an
is
iPod.
concerning to me because when I hear a 12-year-old child, to say they don't want their parents to be together anymore and that he doesn't like his stepfather
That's
at
because
all.
all we do is
It's awfully
argue.
funny,
and
the
he
day
gets
before-
tired
He's
of it.
gone.
The day before I left, he didn't say
This
that.
court is about empowering families, helping them understand how to be better families and respect one another.
Exactly. He knows I'm not his
And
father.
I hear you, Mr. Johnson. What I'm trying to get at
He doesn't
is
respect
whether
him.
you respect
So
Elijah.
it ain't just me, though. He disrespects everybody. He disrespects his brother. He disrespects me, his mother. He talks back. She fights with him constantly over the simplest things. Clean your room. Listen, don't talk back. It's always an argument. Take the dog out. Feed the dog. Whatever it is, he cannot do it. He cannot be disciplined. She won't discipline him. And instead of disciplining him, she babies him.
Okay.
Okay? And when me and him were left alone, with me, him, and my other son, and they're fighting for about 2 hours straight, nonstop. She comes home, I tell her what happened, I tell her that they're not listening, and instead of disciplining the kids, she fights with me.
He's the one acting like he's 12 too.
I'm
And
trying
I
to teach him to
don't
be a
always
man. I'm trying to
reward
teach
him.
this boy to be a
I
man.
don't
How
always reward him.
specifically are you trying to teach him to be a man?
If he's 12 years old, can he pick up after himself? Can he listen to his mom? Can he respect his
So
elders?
learning how to do chores, clean up after himself.
Respect.
Yeah, but you
Do
gotta
you think
give
he respects
respect.
his
I
mother?
did give respect for many, many years. I get told, oh, you don't go to his baseball games. He hates me.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. So now you two are separated because of this.
Right
Yep.
now.
I mean, I love Jason with all my heart. I do. And
I love
I
her,
would
too.
love for, us to work and to be a happy family.
We don't
but
see eye
at
to
the
eye.
point it's at right now, I just don't know if that's ever going to happen because so much has happened, so many
How do you want me to be a father but
being
not do fatherly
disrespectful
things?
and
Ms. Johnson, you brought a witness today. Could you please stand up, sir? State your name for the court.
Rick A. Malsh, Courtney's
Mr.
father.
Amash, thank you so much for joining us today. Please talk to the court about what you've witnessed and what your understanding is in terms of the favoritism or Elijah's disrespect, as Mr. Johnson has put it, to him and all people.
Everybody.
I see Elijah being left out on a lot of things.
Left out of what?
Father, son, the ice cream. You ask Ethan to pick up your room. It's like, would you pick up your room? What's wrong with you? Why don't?
So why aren't we here for the way you talk to Ethan?
Talk to him like a human being, not like an animal that did something wrong.
Doesn't wait. Doesn't that go
You're
for
his
both?
grandfather.
Doesn't
Yes.
that go for both kids though? Wouldn't that go for both children, not just Elijah? Like what Ethan, my son, he does the same thing. He babies Elijah. Oh, it'll be
you
okay.
shouldn't yell at Ethan
oh, it'll
either
be
like
okay.
that.
You yell at him. Your daughter will admit
So
it.
now you're saying that Mr. Amash yells at.
He's way more aggressive with Ethan than he is with Elijah. With Elijah, it's okay, pat
Do
him on
you
the
think
head.
he's
Yeah, but I think a big part
overcompensating
of that
for
is
Elijah because he feels
because,
like
I don't know
you
what
leave
the
him,
reason
you
is.
leave him
I don't know
Jason
what
is
the
so
reason is.
firm with Ethan that
I am firm with him. I don't want bad kids. I come from the streets. I don't want to raise kids that are going to wind up there. I don't want to be 15 and say, I'm going to go pick them streets instead of my mom and dad. I did that. It didn't work.
So your fear is if I don't keep a tight rein on these boys.
They're going to what? They're not going to go to school. They're not going to get an education. They're not going to respect you, him, me, nobody.
So it is your purpose in life as the father in the house to give them that discipline. You're saying you're molding
Yeah,
them.
but
You're
how
giving them
is he
discipline.
showing them when he's not working a steady job? When the thing
I got
about
no
it is
education
that
and I do
Jason
work.
sits there and one of our biggest arguments is financial problems. And he's like, I help you and it's 50-50 with both of us. But it's not. Jason pays half of the bills and that's about it. Every once in a while,
A lot of men out here
his
ain't doing
mom
that.
helps more with the kids than he does as far as getting
a bad
school
thing?
clothes and stuff like that.
that a
No,
bad
but
thing?
You're saying
I
he
work-
needs to focus less on molding the children and more on providing.
both. No,
Exactly.
I think it needs to be both. He needs
So,
to do
Mr.
it
Moss,
all
I
the
want
way
to
around.
ask you, what do you think should happen in this relationship? You've witnessed this. You see the relationships they have with the children and the climate in their marriage. What do you think should happen here?
I think they should finalize and get a divorce. I think that would be the best.
You really feel like there's no saving the
I
marriage?
feel like that's contradicting, though.
No, I don't feel like there is. From what I've seen over the years, no. He don't keep a job. If he does get a job, he loses it. And Elijah, it's going to take a lot for those two to get the respect for one another.
And you don't feel like he's setting a good example for your
No,
grandson?
he's not setting a
He
good-
ain't in the
good
home. He
example.
don't know what I do.
We lived with
Yeah.
my dad from February till July. We lived with my father, and so he does have a good intake of
She
what
needs
we
anger
went
management.
through.
She can't handle them kids, but
I
she
do.
can
All
yell.
right, anger
Thank
She
you
can yell
so
at
much,
me.
Mr. Mulch, for your testimony. It
I'll
was
be the
enlightening.
first
You may
one.
have a seat.
I do need anger
I'd like to
management.
now.
I am angry and I'm upset, and I just feel like I'm just
Can't nobody
ready to
handle him. He
explode
called me himself.
because it's with my whole family situation, though.
He called me himself and couldn't handle him one day. Now, how is it just
So
me?
you're saying Mr. Mulch
Yeah.
called you
Yeah.
and said he couldn't handle Elijah?
Absolutely. He called me. We made an agreement for Elijah to go there because we don't get along. He called me and was like, it's just too much for me, too. I can't take it either. Courtney has to work tomorrow. You guys are going to have to figure something out.
Yeah, but
No,
my
that's
dad
false.
also had plans. You know what I'm saying? My dad is retired. My niece
So
was
it
there.
didn't
She's
happen?
11, and my son is 12. He had plans, so they still have to be under some kind of supervision.
You know, I'm a little concerned because I feel like this child is being pushed here or there or everywhere because no one can handle him or he's so disrespectful. And I'm not saying that children can't be disrespectful. But
My son's number one
most
advocate.
kids around 12
disrespectful?
years old are a lot to handle.
He's twice the
That's a
12-year-old.
really tough age.
He's twice the
I
12-year-old.
can
But he's got
remember
special
being
needs, too.
12 years
He's-
old.
Does it happen to you when it's just you and him? Does he disrespect
Are you all interviewing each other, or
Well, I
am
wanna
I
get to the
trying to
bottom
figure
of
out
it.
what's going on in the marriage? Because my thing is, all of a sudden you get in here and you want to talk to one another. If you were talking more to one another at home, then you wouldn't be standing right here.
That's our problem.
So now, maybe this is another wonderful thing about paternity court is we allow people to talk to one another even though they're talking over the judge. Continue.
Exactly.
What else do you all want to say to one
My
another?
mom treats all the kids like they're hers. Elijah's not hers, but she treats them exactly the same. Exactly the same. There's not a Christmas, a birthday,
And me
an
and
event.
his mother have a great relationship.
A great relationship. Why can't?
outside of Jason.
Well,
You know,
and?
if me and Jason aren't getting along or whatever, me and her, we still
quit
talk.
calling.
Granted, sometimes it's a little hard to talk to her when he's there and we are arguing because I feel like it puts her really in the middle.
Okay. Let me move on to the defense witness. Mrs. Phelps Schultz, if you please could stand up. Thank you. You're the defendant's mother.
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Please enlighten us on what you know about this situation.
Well, there's a lot of disrespect going around altogether. Okay, it's just not coming from one party. It's coming from everybody. You got the whole family involved here. Courtney's a good-hearted person. She tries to please everybody. I mean, she goes out of her way to please me. You know, and I'm just the mother-in-law. But she does that. She's a pleaser. But you got to set limits for your children. You cannot be best friend with the 8, 7, 10-year-old, 12-year-old. You can't be best friends with these guys. You know, a lot of us parents know that. You got to set a boundary. And bless her heart, she does. The correcting part just doesn't come easy for Courtney, which, and Jason feels the authority figure. Elijah's
feel like
disrespected
Mrs.
him so long.
Johnson-
I agree with Rick on one thing and one thing only. I don't think it can be fixed between Elijah and Jason unless a third party comes in and does it.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I
Thank
understand
you.
your point. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. You may have a seat.
I've set up for Elijah has been in counseling for years. I feel like when he's around, my 2 boys, they fight even more because he has like this kind of hatred
So it's
is what
my
I feel
fault they're
about it.
disrespectful. Ethan's disrespectful too. He's
All
an
right,
8-year-old.
so,
He's disrespectful.
Ms. Johnson, that's why you're here. You
Yes.
want the court to order your husband to take parenting classes.
Yes.
What about
I mean,
anger
I wish that
management
he
for
would
her?
do it on his own. I wish that it didn't even have to lead
I wish
to
you
this.
would
that
too. You are
he-
just as guilty as me in every situation.
So why he's trying to put me out here like I don't
He's
do
just as
nothing
disrespectful as
for my
Elijah, I'm
son?
saying it.
I'm listening to this,
It's
and
crazy.
I am certain
And then we
that
can't stay apart for
parenting
2 weeks.
classes could help you both. And what I'm feeling like is that the issues between the 2 of you in your marriage, some of which are caused by the parenting issues, others financial issues and such, professional issues. They're all getting clogged together, and ultimately the children are the ones suffering.
I agree.
And parenting classes will help you learn how to navigate through
There's
this.
got to be
Now,
more than
you
that.
stated to the court, Ms. Johnson, that if Mr. Johnson failed to agree to these parenting courses, that you were going to divorce him.
I was going to petition the divorce, yeah.
Now, Mr. Johnson, having heard what we've heard thus far, will you go? Do you want to watch Paternity Court on TV? Go to paternitycourt.tv to find your local listings. Mr. Johnson, having heard what we've heard thus far, it is this court's opinion and advisement that you both enter parenting classes together. Will you go?
I'll do whatever it takes for my family.
That's great to hear. Let's face it, it's not always an easy job.
No, it's not.
But you all have to get on the same page on the job. I feel like you two are on two different planes when it
We're not
comes
even
to
in the same
parenting.
book.
Everyone's parenting styles are different. As for the anger management request, you countersued and petitioned this court to order that Ms. Johnson go to anger management.
Absolutely.
Earlier in your testimony, Ms. Johnson, I remember distinctly hearing you say, I do need anger management because I'm mad all day.
I am.
You remember that?
And I feel like I'm going to explode, and I need to figure some other coping skills or something because I get to the point where I just want to hurt them all.
Yes. And more wives need to be as brave to stand there and say, I might have on my superwoman cape most days, but some days it's choking me, right?
Yeah.
And I need a little help. I need to figure out how to do these things, or I feel like I'm going to explode on everybody.
I do.
So you are consenting to take those anger management courses?
Yeah, yes.
Wonderful. I realized that there was a petition for divorce. We've seen.
Yes.
I'm going to take a risk and just ask, now that we've consented to the anger management and the parenting courses, is it safe to say that we're going to work on this marriage?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. So we won't be needing this, right?
Right.
Right.
Fantastic. Court is adjourned.
From this point, we're going to co-parent and talk amongst each other on how to discipline rather than lashing out at each other.
From this point, I agree with that. I think I'd like to try to work with her more.